Okay, so this is chapters 29 and 30. Chapter 29, The Findings. Kid, are you sure I didn't get you? Even now, what the officer said almost makes me laugh. Are you sure I didn't get you? Are you sure you're not shot plain through? The bullet holes in the wall where I'd been standing were at head level. Yes, I was sure he didn't get me. After the agents had completed the search of the house, and after my brush with danger courtesy of the nervous deputy, Agent McCabe designated the house a crime scene and ordered it processed. More photos taken, every item catalogued, an extensive search of the grounds once the snow cleared and the dirt softened. The body of Marie's mother was transferred to a coroner for examination. And after that, it was released to the next of kin. Not Marie, but an aunt, Marie's great-aunt, some 60 years old. Marie had never met her. The body discovered beside her was later identified as a previous owner of the house, but not the current one. She was a woman named Lorraine Descontes. 5 years earlier, she had sold the property to a man named Peter Quince. As of this writing, no other records of Peter Quince have been located, and I do not believe that any will be, nor does Mr. McBride. When I mentioned the difficulty in finding him, he wasn't surprised. When you told me the name, I thought it sounded made up. He said, Peter Quince is a character in a Shakespeare play. A Midsummer Night's Dream. And of course, poor Miss Quince was just like all the others, cut at the neck and emptied of blood. The medical examiner stated that she had been dead for a number of years. I could guess that number was 5. Pilson couldn't wait until we got back to the jail to tell Marie that we hadn't found her stepfather's body. He called her to gloat as soon as he found a telephone, and he did it in front of everyone. I heard only one half of the conversation at first. He wasn't where you said he was. A pause. Oh, there was a body, it just wasn't him. Your mother was there, buried in the floorboards beside an older woman. Who was that older woman, Miss Muse? A longer pause. He wasn't there, I said. The entire house was searched. Come on, Miss Muse. You knew all along we were going to find. That's when Marie started shouting, and he pulled the phone away from his ear. He feigned a wince, but he really wanted us to hear what she said, how unhinged she sounded. I don't know any woman, just my mother and him. Nathaniel Cody, right there under the boards, in the dirt. So you look again, you son of a bitch. You look again. Pilson grinned at us, at me and the FBI agents before he hung up the phone. She may be a liar, he said, but she's a committed liar, I'll give her that. Days later, when she was transferred from our jail to the one in Lincoln for her trial, Pilson was her escort. As she was loaded into the police car, she resisted a little. Her eyes moved over the walls of the sheriff's office to the window where she'd spent so much time looking out. She lingered with us as long as she could until Pilson finally snapped that she'd stolen enough time, but she wouldn't be stealing away with her life. I was never trying to steal away with my life, Marie said. I was trying to steal away with my soul. I told my father later that she had almost gotten to Pilson, that I saw his brow uncrease at those plaintive Christian words, but my father only frowned and said the truest thing I've ever heard. Benjamin Pilson is no real Christian. Chapter 30. The Things We Have to Do. The drive back to Black Deer Falls with Pilson was tense. I couldn't stand the man, how he kept humming along to the radio, and how friendly he'd become again now that things had gone his way. He'd even seemed truly concerned that I'd almost gotten shot. Though maybe he really was. I guess if I'd been killed, he'd have been in a heap of trouble for bringing me along. Mr. Pilson, I said, and the humming paused. Yes, Michael. We just passed a highway sign saying we were 13 miles from St. Cloud. There were only 2 more hours left in the trip. You have to change your mind. About what? He asked. About asking for the death penalty. That's what the state will ask for. I've already spoken to the judge, and he's amendable. But she's just a kid, I said quietly. And who were the 16 people she killed? They were also someone's kids. Marie Catherine Muse murdered her own mother. No one will weep for this. Then he sighed. But I am sorry for you, son. I know you care about her. Maybe foolishly, but I can't say that the same thing has never happened to me. I stared out into the darkness past our headlights. I didn't believe for 1 minute that the same thing had ever happened to him. I don't understand why she had to die. I don't know why you won't believe her. Why I won't believe her? There are too many holes in your story, I said. If Nathaniel Cody was the killer and they killed her mother, then what? It's weeks from the Cody's disappearance before the murder of Peter Knupp. So they were hiding, honeymooning. But why kill him at all? Their incarceration with Knupp went wrong. They panicked. Then they go right on killing as they run to Canada. None of the victims were robbed. Witness disposal, then, or they just acquired a taste for it. His cheek tensed. Your theory is a campfire story, a monster that drains people of blood and flaps away into the night. I gritted my teeth. I wanted to say that I never said he turned into a bat, but that seemed counterproductive. What about the blood? I asked. All those murders, whether the victim had lain nice and docile, or whether they had run and been chased down, all their blood had been missing. Exaniguation, severe loss of blood. It's what had killed each and every one, yet there were no pools or stains around the bodies. No arterial spray across the dash and steering wheel of Angela Hawk's car. She was there, Pilson said. She knew what would happen, and by her own admission, she helped Cody carry out these crimes. You say Cody like you know for sure, but you don't. Where was the blood? I asked, and he looked away. What about her fingerprints? Why were they the only ones? He was careful, Pilson said. He directed her. And the blood on her the night of the Carlson murders soaked through every inch of her clothes like it had been poured over her head. How do you explain that? It was collected and poured over her, just like you said. But I was barely listening anymore. I was running rogue-shod over the top of him and his unanswered questions. The house in North Platte, the cleaned floors, someone had been there before us. Someone could have moved Nathaniel Cody's body. Who? He demanded. How would he have known to move it? No one knew we were coming. How could he have beaten us there? Maybe he went back and moved it when you released Cody's name to the press. And why would he do that? Because you gave him someone to lay it on, and moving the body would make sure Marie couldn't prove it. It made Marie look guiltier. Pilson barked laughter. He bore down on the accelerator. There's doubt, I said. I'm just saying there's doubt. Not reasonable doubt, and Miss Muse only has herself to blame for that. He dropped me in front of my house just past 11 p.m. and didn't go inside to speak to my father despite seeing the lights on in our living room. My dad opened the door to let me in and gave a half-hearted wave to Pilson's taillights. Are you all right? My dad asked. How's Marie? That's not what I asked. When I didn't budge, she said, She's fine. She's resting. We had to bring the doc in. The doc? After Mr. Pilson's phone call, she wouldn't calm down. She didn't believe that the body hadn't been found. So eventually Dr. Rouse came in and gave her a little something. It should have been me who told her, I said, not Pilson. She might have taken it better, he said. She was upset. She was angry, almost like she really didn't believe that his body would be there. She did believe it, Dad. She did. Michael. He looked at me with a kind of pity and seemed to search for words for a while. Sometimes, when something is really bad, like what happened to Marie, a person will make something up, not because they're a liar, just so they don't have to face what really happened. You think that's what Marie's doing? I asked. I think so. Do you think the judge will understand that? I don't know. I'm not a judge or a jury. I want to see her. I want to see Marie. You can see her in the morning, my dad said and squeezed my shoulder. She did lead them to a body. Maybe that will be enough. But I knew it wouldn't be. And I knew that with the Cody story, Pilson would be available to avail the judge to move the first trial out of Minnesota and into Nebraska. Marie had bought herself a few days with the body search, but Pilson would be at the court as soon as he'd had enough sleep to get her and type the motion. I went up to my room and set my bag on the floor, then lay on my bed. They would never catch the one who really did it. He was gone, disappeared like smoke, but they would make someone pay, and I couldn't let them do that. She wasn't innocent, but she wasn't alone in the crimes, and I never believed she was a killer. I waited until I heard my dad go to bed and then waited another hour after that. I'd never snuck out of my house before, never tried to go out through the window or creep through the downstairs without making noise. I thought about that before I did it, how my parents would never believe I had broken the rules. When they found my bed empty in the morning, they would probably check underneath it first, and they would be scared and disappointed. There was nothing I could do about that. Considering my lack of experience and the light sleeping habits of my father, it was a wonder that I made it out the front door. But I did, with a fresh bag of clothes and some food from the pantry and all of my savings folded into my wallet. In my right hand, I had my father's keys. I unlocked the back door at the jail and went up to find Marie in her cell. She was alone. Nancy was sitting on the bed holding Marie's head in her lap. "Michael," Nancy whispered, "what are you doing here?" She saw my coat and my bag, the keys. "Oh no, you can't do this." I unlocked the cell door. "I can't let her stay." Marie stirred. When she saw me, she came awake all at once, her eyes a little glazed, probably from the effects of what the doctors had given her. But when she saw my bag, she turned over and got up. "You'll get into trouble," said Nancy. "You'll get caught. You'll never make it." "We'll take one of the cruisers, drive until dawn, then we'll hide it and go on hitching. Come on, Marie." "You mean it?" Marie asked. I held out my hand and she smiled and came to me. She wrapped her arms around me and buried her face in my shoulder. She felt cold and small. "Nancy, do I need to tie you up?" "I guess not." She looked at Marie sadly. "I'll just say I never saw you." I tugged Marie out of the cell. She was going to need a coat and better shoes, and I had no idea where to get them. "Michael, wait," Marie said. "Wait for what?" I asked. She slipped her fingers down my arm and held my hand. She looked around at the same wall she'd stared at for months. "You would really do this?" she said. "For me?" "I have to," I said, "so let's hurry and get it done." She still had a hold of me, so steady. I was trembling like a leaf. "I can't go," she said quietly. "But I appreciate the gesture." "Marie, we have to. They're going to kill you." She didn't let go of my hand, but she gave it a little shake like she was trying to wake me up. "I have one more thing I need to tell you before they come to take me away. Since you're here anyway, would you mind taking it down?"